Talk a little bit about when Maddie saw the room for the first time.
Oh my goodness. So Brandon was
Again, I was
traveling.
right?
Yeah, Brandon was traveling, and I had him on
I have those
FaceTime.
pictures.
I have him on FaceTime, and
She was on FaceTime too.
yeah. And so I think, how did I figure that out? I can't remember, but I did have a picture of all of us
I do too.
on the
Screenshot.
camera and everything. But when Maddie walked into that room, her face just absolutely lit up. And my Lord, Jimmy put so many lights in that room.
Oh my God.
There are so many lights and different things that are attached to LEDs and music, and every inch of that room was just gorgeous, and it just screamed Maddie. And she absolutely loved every single inch of that room. It was wonderful.
Great. Talk to us a little bit about how living in that room was, right? Because sometimes it's like the day you get the wish is great, and then you're like, oh, maybe I wanted purple walls instead, right?
So so part of that room, part of the whole wish was Maddie got to pick the color that her room was now too.
Yeah.
And Lolly picked the color of their room, whatnot. So as it all went through, and Maddie's living in it. And granted, when Amanda said there's a lot of lights, a lot is the smallest number you could describe this with. Many, many lights. The cat lamp, the squishy thing that you slapped and it freaking lit up. She had
Giant lighted up cube.
Oh, right. The
that
cube.
thing.
Cute.
Awesome.
Cube was cute.
Yes.
That was awesome. But
Yeah.
she had easily 9 different remotes for all the LED stuff going through her room.
And she used all of them.
Every single
That's what
one.
I love to hear.
All of them.
Okay.
So, and to reiterate that it's the kid's wish with Maddie in her room, I'm pretty sure that it was kind of future-proofed, because as Maddie grew and had the room, she would change the lights. She would turn on other lights that she had. Was it the closet that had all the squares in it, like shoe cubbies
Yeah.
for kids is what they were called? She would turn on different ones as she was going through, all of it. And I don't think I walked into her room. I don't think it was the same for more than a month at a time.
But it was also huge because that was 2020. And so she had a place to do all of her schoolwork. And it gave her a place to be herself and not feel like she was stuck in her house or in her room. It was a place that she wanted to be in. And so that's what made it really special.
I think it was a place that she loved to share too, because it wasn't a normal, do not enter on the outside of the room, sign or knock or whatever it was. It's just a big Maddie sign or Madeline sign. And, she would have it cracked all the time just so you can say, hey, good night or whatever it is. And she'd be like, no. You come in here, you experience this too.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So a little while after that, we got exciting and terrifying news, right?
Yeah.
That Maddie needed a double lung transplant.
Yeah. So in January of 2021, she had I think it was a CAT scan. And
She went stage 4.
well, that's what I'm
it,
getting
yeah.
to. So they discovered that that Maddie's heart was in right heart failure. And so we needed to go to the transplant center, which is 9 hours away in Northern California.
Easy drive.
Yeah.
And we needed to go there. And they told me that Maddie needs to go through a week long of transplant testing, but you need to prepare to stay there because she won't be coming home without a transplant. And so we packed up the car, and we didn't know exactly how long we were going to be there. We didn't know if we were going to be there for a couple of years. We didn't know we thought it was a heart transplant at the time. We had no idea it was the lungs.
Oh, wow.
When you think pulmonary hypertension, you're thinking pulmonary lungs, right? But Maddie was always taken care of by a cardiologist. And so we always thought, and because the right part of the heart went pancake, and that was due to the constriction in the lungs. But we always thought it was the heart. So we weren't quite sure what was going to happen there. But at the end of transplant testing, she was approved for double lungs. And we were actually at the Golden Gate Bridge when we got the call that said, hey, Maddie's on the donor list now. And so we're like, okay, on the list.
So this is the part. This is the part where Maddie becomes a celebrity at Stanford. Lucille Packard and Stanford.
Yeah.
Because that was a Thursday?
That was it was on a Friday. It was
That we got the call?
that we got the call.
Oh.
It was on the Friday because we got the call in the afternoon, about 2:00 in the afternoon. Well, Maddie had to go to a final sleep study. So her and I went over to another building to go to a sleep study. And we got all ready for bed, and she has nodes and all kinds of things attached to her head, gooped all up and everything. And then I get a phone call at 9:30 at night.
From 615, right?
From the doctor, and it's a number that it's a Palo Alto number. So we're like, why is someone calling? And it was her doctor saying, get to the hospital. We have a donor. 7 hours she was on the list.
Incredible.
It was amazing.
That's incredible.
And so I'm like, I hang up the phone and I'm like, let's pack up. Let's pack up. And Maddie kind of is nervous, scared, excited. We both didn't know what to do. I'm calling everybody and their mom as I'm driving back to where we were staying. And then at about 10:30 at night, we get to the hospital and we wait. And at 10 o'clock the next morning, she goes into the operating room. And every day after that, Maddie progressed. She never had any setbacks with her.
She was a rock star. I mean,
she was amazing. She got up and started washing the second day. She fought it was almost like she fought her whole life for that. And these lungs that she was given were the best things she's ever had. And they gave her the opportunity to run and play. And she was so grateful. She was so incredibly grateful.
So a fun part is, so they have to do, no matter what, they have to do a dry run with a transplant because the docs have to put eyes on the organ, right? They have to say, yes, this good, or, kick rocks.
Yeah.
And so Amanda and I, we weren't arguing on who was going back. I just said, you go back with her because Amanda has been through so much with all of this with Maddie. So I'm talking with Maddie right before they go back, and she's like, it's just a dry run. Don't worry about it. It can't happen this fast and this and that. And I looked at her and I was like, you're going to wake up, look down, see a scar, and say, crap. But
yeah,
she also wanted that she didn't care about the scar.
Yeah.
And this is something else Maddie did too, was she wanted the battle wounds and the scars and the experience, because then she can tell her own story to everybody else on how great it can be.
Yeah, talk to us a little bit about that scar. And
So-
we're currently up here
So
with somebody in this
Wicked.
room.
So
Literally
Right?
from here down to here.
Yeah, I'm talking about what you have.
So my tattoo, or our tattoo artist, phenomenal guy, okay? And I've known him for years, and he is a family friend. Right? She's known him longer than I have because they went to the same high school as well.
Wow. Okay.
So when I brought a picture that Maddie painted, she went to Camp Mendehart all the time, and she painted the logo on it, but she painted it in Maddie kind of style.
Right.
She's looking at the picture and painting it, it never matches, but it's hers. So
It's a heart with a Band-Aid across it.
thank you. So, and 2 kids playing at the top. I didn't know if I should describe that. But so I took that logo, and one day I looked at Maddie and I'm like, hey, this is going to be an odd request. I need a picture of your scar. And she's like, okay. So they discreetly sent me a picture of her scar. and I sent the logo and the scar to my artist, and he ended up doing her heart and her logo, and then that is actually her scar. And then him being a family friend and the big gushy sentimental ball of goo that he is, he actually asked me for a note that had her name on it that she wrote, and that's actually her handwriting in the Band-Aid.
Amazing. It's so good. I remember the first time you showed that to me. Pretty incredible. How long were you guys there with the transplant before you got to come home?
Oh my goodness. We were there for about 3 months.
Yeah, I know.
And yeah, it was a very long time, but it was so much shorter than it could have been.
Right. Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. We had, weekly doctor's appointments, weekly blood tests, different types of procedures to make sure that, everything is healing and everything is working the way that it's supposed to.
That little module came into the room every day.
Yeah. And, but the big thing is that every single weekend, Maddie and I made sure that we would go on an adventure because I was working at the time. I was doing virtual training from the hotel room. And so Maddie knows more about my job than most people. And she would like spout off different things that I would be teaching in class. So once Friday, 5 p.m. hit, it was our time through, Monday morning. And so we would go to the beach on Saturdays. We would go down to the Winchester Mystery House. We went up to Muir Woods up by San Francisco.
Not a bad place to be, by the way, if you're going to go on an adventure over the weekend.
Right. We definitely took advantage as much as we possibly could. And it was our special time together. And Maddie and I, we were always close because she's my mini-me. She looks exactly like me. And but this time that we had together, those 3 months, were the most special of my life because we now started to share like secret messages and secret jokes, and we would finish each other's sentences. And we spent 3 straight months together. She would go into the bathroom and put pillows in the tub and get out her laptop so she could talk to her friends or whatever, because it was the only place that she could be like by herself.
She's always creative,
Yeah.
Yes.
Something else. The whole family is, but Maddie especially very creative.
Yeah.
So you guys get home. Maddie gets back to her room, her very own room, and so talk to us what that was like